Okay, we are recording. And Steve, I win.
You win.
Okay.
Forecaster extraordinaire.
Yeah, well, I said 9, so that's 13. So I was pretty off too. All right, good to see all of you. Wonderful to have you. We're going to jump into Revelation again as soon as I pray. Thank you, Father, for another great night. I pray that you would be with each person here. I know they've got lots of stuff they could be doing, and they're choosing to hang out with this community and maybe learn a little bit about Revelation and each other and talk about you. So give us what we're looking for today, what we need from your word, and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So here we are. We are going through the book of Revelation. We're going verse by verse through it. We are halfway through the book of, through chapter 6. And well, not halfway through. I think we're like 4 verses in, or 6 or 7 verses in. We've done the horsemen of the apocalypse. We're going to get there. We're going to jump back there in a second. Not a second. In a few weeks, we're going to jump back there. Today, I asked if I could do the Christmas story instead. So we're still going to do Revelation, and it's going to be some kind of cool Christmas story. So I hope you've got a Bible, because you're going to need one. Go ahead and run away now and get your Bible or get your phone or whatever you need to do this. We are about to jump on. Nice to see you, Josh. Thanks for showing your face for 10 seconds or 2 seconds. It's good. All the rest of you are welcome to stay. You can either show your face or not. We'd love to see you, but I understand if you're not going to. And by the way, Facebook people, same thing. You just come on if you want to be on Zoom. Just jump on and stay, silenced and no picture. If you want to do that, that's fine. While you're driving or whatever, we love having you guys. All right. So, hi, Lori, and yeah, I can't tell everybody else is there. Mary's back. Woohoo! Nice to see you for a second. All right, and Lisa. Okay, I said hi to enough people. Let's talk about Revelation chapter 12. All right, before you even jump in there, you can turn there if you want. So I want you to think about war, like the most intense war that you can imagine. I don't know. I'm guessing none of you were in a war, a major war. Maybe some of you were, but think of something like World War II. You've seen the movies. Maybe you had friends that were there.
I was there.
You were there actually in the war?
No, well, I had an uncle who was in it, and my mother worried about him all the time.
I'll bet. Yeah. So that's some. Yeah,
And my granny.
Okay. So World War II. All right. I don't know what else. Vietnam, Korea. Intense. You've seen the movies. Think Troy. If you don't know anything, like let's think somewhat fictional. I mean, it's probably a real war or something like that. But think Braveheart, Scottish English War. Think about those, like the blood, the knives and the spears and the axes, and I don't know what else is happening. Just think intense. Now I want you to set that aside for just a second, or just right there. Picture like a cosmic war. What's your picture of a cosmic war? Like the war that's behind all wars, like the worst thing that you can imagine. What are you picturing right now? Are you picturing like angels darting back and forth with giant swords, a la This Present Darkness, Piercing the Darkness, Peretti fame?
In a black hole. Black hole.
Which one?
A black hole.
The black hole?
Yeah.
Destroying matter. Like just matter's just breaking apart.
Ooh,
Gone.
okay, black hole. Cool. All right. That's good.
Gone.
That's what I was gonna say too, black hole.
Interesting. Okay, so that's how you think of a cosmic battle. Everything's being sucked into this giant hole. All right, now I want you to picture a silent night. All right, the manger scene. However you picture the nativity, with as many historical inaccuracies as you probably brought into it just over time, whatever you're picturing. All right, something there in a stable, a holy night. All is calm, all is bright. It's coming really quick, right? So I want you to take all of these and I want you to figure out how are we going to fit in that Braveheart, that cosmic war, if that's a black hole or angels flitting around, and this manger scene, and put them all together. Okay, that's tonight's story. Okay, that's what we're bringing into this. So picture John now. Okay, remember, John's the author of this book. He's seeing something. He's writing the book of Revelation and he's seeing something super intense, something quick. Like it's a flashback and it's a flash forward at the same time, some sort of intense movie where you're seeing something and then it's bizarre, it's grotesque, it's beautiful. Like all of these things are happening at the same time in this scene that he's going to do. One after the other, these scenes are going to pop up. First of all, we're going to look into heaven. Then we're going to see an ark in heaven. And then we're going to see a woman clothed in sun. And then we're going to see a red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. And then we're going to hear him say, now comes. And he's going to say, behold, or look. And it's like, and definitely with an exclamation point from Todd's last week, right? Exclamation point, not horses, but look. Look, hold, something. There's something big that's about to happen. Now, here's what we're going to do. Of course, we're going to walk through it, right? We're going to walk through Revelation 12. But here's my concern. What we want to do with the book of Revelation is analyze every single piece to death. I'm going to do that for you because we want to know what some of these symbols are, right? But I also want us to remember there's a story here. There's this narrative sweep that's happening in the book of Revelation. If you catch the story, you actually don't need to know what every single thing symbolizes. You can still see what's happening. Okay, so I want to read you a quote by Eugene Boring. Okay, it's not boring, I promise. It's a good quote, but his name is Eugene Boring. He's got a Revelation commentary. He says this: Revelation's images are not mere illustrations of something that can be said more directly. A picture makes its own statement, is its own text. It doesn't communicate what it has to say by being reduced to discursive, propositional language, just as is the case in visiting an art gallery. While commenting and explanation may help one to get the picture, language about the picture can never replace the message communicated in and through the picture itself. I want you to see the picture. I want you to get this flashback, this flash forward, all these little scenes that are coming. So right before this, remember, we're only in chapter 6, so we only know what's happened in 1 through 6 so far. Of course, you probably read the book before. But in the next section that we're going to get to, in 8 through 11, that's the trumpets, right? Chapter 6 and 7 is what? What are they opening?
The scrolls.
Right, they're opening the scroll, one scroll, the seals, right? They're opening the seals and they're seeing these things. It's going to move away from the scroll to the trumpets. We're going to have 7 trumpets that are coming. And the end of that section is going to end with, Handel's Messiah, right? You've all heard that. You've all probably gone to see it this Christmas. The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ. And he shall reign forever. Mary Gonzalez, take it away. She's in the choir. Forever and ever, right? I mean, that's what's happening here. Okay, he shall reign forever and ever. That's where we just ended in chapter 11, verse 15. And now we come to this new section at the very end of Revelation. And if you're looking at it, you can see that it's a little bit different between verse 18 and verse 19, right? Of chapter 11. Like, I'm guessing your text on the page even looks different. Like we've moved back to a narrative of some kind. I should look at mine. I don't know.
It's a quote.
It's a quote. Yep. Well, the section before, right, from all the way from verse 15 all the way through 18 is this quote, except for there's a little piece in verse 16 that's not. But then 19 that's where we open. Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple was seen the ark of his covenant, and there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, earthquake, and a great hailstorm. Okay, so 11:19, the temple is seen and is opened. The temple in heaven is open. So this should be hugely exciting if you're reading this in storyline, right? All these things are happening. We've been waiting for these things to start happening, for the opening to happen. So the temple is opened. Heaven itself isn't quite opened yet. That's going to come a little bit later, but this makes sense that we have some kind of opening, right? Revelation is all about an opening. That's what Revelation means, right? An unveiling, an opening of your eyes. It's like the scales are falling off. Now you can finally see. And he's about to say, look, or see, or behold. He's going to get there in just a second. So that opening is going to happen 4 times in Revelation. Starts in chapter 4, and he'll say, and look, or behold, a door standing open in heaven. So the door is open in chapter 4. And then 2 more times are going to happen after this. One in chapter 15. And I looked, and the temple of the tabernacle of testing in heaven was opened. And then in chapter 19:11, and heaven was opened. And you're supposed to, with exclamation, not say horse, but say, like, oh boy, like, oh my goodness, look what's happening. Holy crap, right? It's open. We've been waiting for this. Chapter 19. We're not there yet. We're still in chapter 12, but there's something happening. He looks in this temple, and the Ark of the Covenant is all of a sudden there. So you're like, okay, what is happening here, right? Has Indiana Jones like come? You know what the Ark of the Covenant is, right? This box that's layered in gold. It has these 2 cherubim, angelic figures on the top with the angels' wings touching each other, right? You've seen Raiders of the Lost. By the way, the new movie's coming out 2023. Okay, he's 80 years old and can still crack a whip with the best of them. So, yeah. Guys, he's not going. Of course, he's not going for a Ark of the Covenant, but whatever. That was a good one. All right. So the Ark of the Covenant is what is the Ark of the Covenant? Not. I just described it, but what is it? What's it a symbol of?
Moses' commandments.
Okay.
with
what's this
the
commandment?
stones in them. In
Okay,
it.
stones are in there. Yep.
The presence of God,
The what?
presence of God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's the Ark of the Covenant is. In some texts, it's called the footstool. In other places, it's called the throne of God. But you get the idea. He's either sitting on a throne with his feet kicked up on the Ark of the Covenant, which is connecting him in heaven to that, or he's sitting on the throne, on the mercy seat itself. He's like there. The point of it is, this is the connection between earth and heaven. This spot is where God dwells. So he's like, John is seeing the Ark of the Covenant in heaven as it's opened up. So there's temple, then we got the Ark of the Covenant, and then it's opened, and you're not going to have your faces melted off, so we can look. It's okay. It's not going to happen like that. But there's lightning, there's thunder. Okay, we just saw that, and there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a great hailstorm. Okay, that's an exciting moment. Whatever is happening here is supposed to blow you away. You're supposed. I'm totally in. I'm ready for all of this. And by the way, chapter 12 is the theological center of this book. Okay, this is where it all switches, by the way. Chapters 1 through 11 is one thing. Actually, there's 4 things in here, and then there's going to be 3 more in the next half. But this is where it switches between 11:18 and 11:19. This is where our text is going to shift a little bit. And it's all about war. It's all about victory. It's all about a victory that is won for heaven on earth. Does that make sense? The victory that is celebrated in heaven was won on earth in one particular event or one groupings of events. Okay? That's what the story is. All this to get to chapter 12. Wait, we can't even get into chapter 12 yet, because you have to have some background to chapter 12 too. Like the story that's about to happen where the woman is clothed in the sun and all that, and the red dragon comes and tries to kill the child, all that stuff, that has a background too. Okay, it has a background in some of the other stories at that time, as well as in the Old Testament. All right, so you should probably know that Zeus has a child named Apollos. Probably heard of this, right? Somewhere in your Greek mythology studies, you'd be like, yeah, maybe, I don't know what you're talking about, but I kind of remember some of that stuff, right? Zeus has a child. Before this child is born, so Zeus and Leto, they hook up. Like this is the queen mother, right? Zeus and the child is born on an island called Delos. Or sorry, Yeah, no, that's right. Delos is the island, and it's right next to Patmos. So if you look on a map, Patmos is where John is right now. The island is right off of this island, and you can, I mean, they would have had the same kinds of stories, the same kinds of things in them. So Leto is pregnant with Apollos, and the Python, or Python is his name, he's a dragon, a snake god, attacks. Okay, tries to destroy this woman, Leto, so that he can make sure that Apollo is not born and all that stuff happens. So Leto flees to Delos, that's where she's at, and the god Poseidon, you've heard of him because you read Percy Jackson, right? At least at this point. Uh-oh. Oh, nice job. Okay. So let's see, where is it? You see Delos and you see Patmos. Patmos is in the top right.
Wow, Travis.
Good job. He's rocking it. Okay. So Delos is where they flee to. Leto and her baby flee there, and Poseidon buries the island. The island goes under the sea, protects them with the sea. Okay, so that he can't find it. It's an invisible island, basically. And so Python can't find it. So Python goes back to where he's supposed to be in Delphi. And as the story goes, 4 days after Apollo is born, Apollo attacks Python in Delphi and destroys him. Right, so he's at 4 days old. That's the kind of God we're talking about here. Okay, so this myth was used throughout the region for all of your political statements, proclamations. So the Caesars at that time, Caesar Augustus, Octavian, right, the venerable one, the great grandnephew of Julius Caesar, real person, we're not talking about myth anymore, this actual guy, declared himself as the new Apollos. So he's the new guy. And he was entering into this new golden age, this new administration of himself. Nero himself made a statue of himself as Apollo, the son of God, called himself the son of God. All right, so these are all the things that are happening in politics. You connect yourself with the gods, then people have to worship you. And that's what Caesar Augustus did, right? He created empire worship all around. So everybody worshiped the kings as gods. So John is telling his story in the middle of this kind of a culture, okay, about a dragon who's trying to catch a child, a mother who's about to have a baby, trying to destroy it. They would know this story really well. I know we haven't even read the text yet. Okay, that's where the woman and the dragon are going to enter. All right, so remembering our storyline here, starts off, we have 4 different stories that are happening 1 through 12, and there's cycles. There's these what I call these recapitulating cycles. The story is told over and over again at the beginning of the world and the end of the world, over and over throughout this. Okay, and we're going to get to see each one of these things through the entire course of history. So here in chapter 12, this next section, remember I said 1 through 11 and 12 through 22, but also 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, in this next section, chapters 12 through, I think, 15, maybe it's 14, I can't remember. This is where we get introduced to the dragon, the beast that comes up out of the sea, and the beast that comes up out of the land, Babylon, the men and the mark of the beast, like all that stuff is going to be happening right here. So this is the controversial section. We're not going to get into all the controversy, but chapter 12 is the beginning of all that, and it starts with this red, fiery dragon who's intent on destroying Jesus, the Christ. And failing to do this, he's going to persecute the woman, and we should read it instead of me continuing to talk. So somebody read chapter 12, 1 through 6. That's the definite spot where we need to talk more about it. Who's got it?
I do.
All right, go for it, Lisa.
Oh. And a great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pains and the agony of giving birth. And another sign appeared in heaven, Behold, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads 7 diadems. His tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. She gave birth to a male child, one who is about to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, in which she is to be nourished for 1260 days.
Fantastic. All right, so verse 1, we've got a sign or portent that appears in heaven, and there's a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, the stars, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Okay, what is this? What's happening here? Thoughts? Who's this woman?
It's a church,
Okay, a church,
the church.
the church. Okay. Help me understand that, or go further with it. Say more about that, or someone else if they want to.
That's what it says in the notes in my Bible.
Ah, okay.
Isn't it is supposed to be Mary?
Yeah. I mean, I did say war, cosmic war, nativity scene, right? So if you're going to put those things together, maybe it's Mary. So we got the church and we got Mary. Both are good possibilities. People have been arguing about this for millennia, by the way.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, okay. So why do you think this cosmic language, right? She's clothed with the sun. What does that mean? And she's standing on the moon. And there's a crown with 12 different stars. Does that bring up any language? Do you remember that from anywhere? Does it tell you anything, about language? By the way, we don't know. This is a community. Like if you're new here, we're playing with ideas. That's kind of
The 12 tribes are the whole world.
okay. 12 tribes, and we already know the 12 tribes, right? Remember the throne, circling the throne. We've got 24 elders, and we said those are 12 tribes, and maybe the 12 apostles, symbolizing everything. Okay, so maybe the 12 tribes.
But the Catholics depict Mary with a thing around her head with stars.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they read this text and they think it's Mary. They picture it that way, yeah. Any other thoughts? I remember a story in Genesis 37. You remember this? Which goes with what Brandon was saying. I think Brandon said it. Or maybe Mary. I can't even remember now. It's only been 10 seconds. I've already forgot. Remember Genesis 37? This is where Joseph has a dream.
Hmm?
Do you remember what the dream is? If the sun would bow down to him, and the moon, and the stars. Remember those? So I wonder if there's any connection here. We got him standing and all that stuff, which would take us back to exactly what whoever, Fran or Mary, was just talking about, that the 12 tribes maybe, right? Because this is Joseph saying that his brothers would bow down to him, and that his father and his mother, Rachel and Jacob. Jacob is Israel. Jacob's name is changed to Israel. So I wonder if they're jumping off of that to picture whoever this is, the Israel of old. But maybe not just the Israel of old, because of what we're going to find out coming up here. So remember, this is all symbols. So it's perfectly okay if they start grabbing hold of ideas and bringing them together. That's poetic license. It's actually quite beautiful. So I think I'm going to be persuaded that this is the remnant of Israel. Well, actually, it's probably all of Israel, but we're going to find the remnant in just a second. Right? The remnant just means the remaining ones, the ones who are faithful. right? I think it's Israel, but I also think it's Mary. And I also think it's the church.
Hmm.
I think he's playing with all of these symbols. Like it's going to become each of these things as we move. And it is because each of these things, Mary is, right? She's where the Messiah comes from, out of Israel. That's what we were looking for, right? And of course, the Messiah comes out of or from for the church. All of this stuff is going to work together because we're going to find out in a second that this woman is going to run away, right? Is going to be protected, and then as the devil, the dragon is trying to get her. And well, we'll get to that in just a second. All right, so I think it's probably both. We have a pregnant woman, so something is going to come forth out of her, right? That's the whole idea here. Maybe it's the ideal church or the almost ideal church that's producing this child. But whatever, the dragon is going to want the offspring. It's going to try and destroy the offspring. Okay, that's the goal. All right, so let's meet. So here she was, verse 2. She was with child. She cried out in pangs of birth, in anguish for delivery. All right, we could go back and quote lots of verses that talk about the birth pangs, but we're not going to. Okay, so that's our first sign. And then, quick as can be, we're already on to a new sign. Okay, another sign appeared in heaven. By the way, it's important that both of these are signs. When we meet the child, he's not going to be a sign. Okay, because there is going to be no woman clothed in the sun and the moon, right? That's not going to be happening. There's not going to be an actual red dragon. These are symbols, but there absolutely is going to be a child. Okay, and it's not just a symbol, it's a literal fact. Okay, so these are symbols of evil and the church, but Jesus is quite clearly the one here. Okay, so here's the dragon. Tell me what you know about dragons from the Bible. I don't want to hear what you know about Shrek's dragon. The donkey gets married to, or the Hobbit, Smaug. I mean, maybe you can tell me about that too. What do you know about these dragons? If you got the Facebook post, did you see anything wrong with the Facebook post? I thought about not putting it on there. The picture that I put on there is a woman standing there and a dragon like right there in her face, ready to eat her.
In the Trans-Siberian concert that I saw, they had the dragon and the child, and the dragon chased the child and the woman all around the stadium. It was, I guess somebody's been reading Revelation.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
The light show was fantastic. I mean, when I was thinking about, you talking about John with all this lights and all of this stuff going on, they did it. It was fantastic.
All right, that's fantastic. Yeah, we're going to be doing
The
that.
dragon has legs in your photo.
What, Travis?
The dragon has legs in your photo. In the Bible, they don't usually have legs, I don't think, do they?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they have legs. Before. We don't know. Yeah, that's good.
Dragons represent chaos.
That's right. Good job. Was that Carly?
It is Carly.
Yeah, I thought I recognized your voice. I didn't see which square light lit up.
He looks rather friendly.
Yeah, he doesn't look all that mean. That's true. But also, how many heads does he have?
One.
One.
Not
Unless they're all side by
seven.
side.
Not
Yeah.
seven.
Not seven,
Crowns.
which we're told very specifically, right? That he has 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his head. I was hoping somebody would, take note of that and write me a scathing review of my picture that I chose. All right, so they symbolize chaos in this time. Can you name any dragons in the Old Testament? There are 3 named in the Old Testament. You might not know this, at least that I know of off the top of my head.
Leviathan.
Leviathan, that's one of the
Oh,
big,
yeah.
right?
Tiamat.
Tiamat is not actually named,
Yeah.
but good job. Tiamat, if you saw the Eternals, Tiamat is in there. Tiamat is demythologized in scripture to the word Tehom, which just means abyss. So probably Tiamat doesn't show up technically, but maybe I'll give you that. Who is that? Josh, probably. Yep. Oh, it was Matt. Okay. Yep.
It's
Tiamat.
a sea monster.
Okay. He's a sea monster. Yes.
Isn't there one? Does it have a name?
Well, Leviathan is a sea monster. Yeah,
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
I think the dragons almost always come out of the sea, actually.
But
So-
the sea is chaos too, right?
That's right. Okay, so it's the symbol of the sea. It's the sea itself coming out
Okay.
up in personified or dragonified or whatever you do. Anthropomorphize? No. Zoomorphize? I don't know. It becomes an animal.
Mhm.
Right? So it's a dragon. So we got kind of Tiamat, that's fair. We've got Leviathan, we've got Behemoth. There's another one of these nasty dragon type things. We've got Rahav. Rahav, spelled like Rahab, like Rahab, but pronounced with a soft B, a V sound, Rahav, which is important because Egypt is called Rahav, the great dragon that chases them to the sea. Right. So as they're chasing in Psalms, we have this picture of the dragon chasing them up to the great sea, right? Whatever this is, the Sea of Reeds, which, as long as it's called a sea, is probably a symbol of chaos. So we got chaos chasing chaos. They go through chaos, and then chaos is still open. So chaos goes into the mullet, to the maw of chaos, and then chaos closes itself. So chaos defeats chaos in this great Egyptian battle of the Red Sea or the Reed Sea. Okay, but those are just some of the dragons. All of them represent this disorder, this chaos that they're trying to destroy the works of order, the works of God. All right, and that's what Jesus is coming to do, right? To put everything to rights. That's the plan. So here comes this dragon, 7-crowned head, right? Dominion of the world. He looks like he's perfect in dominion. Okay, but we know that this abrogated power, this is all power that's coming from the great God, but whatever. Right now, he looks pretty darn sweet. And so you got 7 heads, 7 crowns, 10 horns, just another way of saying the same thing. Both of those numbers have to do with completion, right? 10 being, it's in a decimal centered, is that what it's called? Yeah, deci means 10, right? In that centered world, they would have had 10 and 7 would have both been your power. So this is all the destructive power in one giant red dragon, not fire-breathing dragon, by the way, though, right? If anything, a water-breathing dragon. He's going to throw out water in a second, but we're not there. But I'm thinking about this, and we already know who this is, right?
Right.
Who is it?
Satan.
It's Satan,
Yeah.
right? This is Satan. So the devil of old, the serpent of old, which he's going to be called that in just a second. So he's standing there ready to devour, and he has all this power. And I'm thinking about Martin Luther's great hymn, on earth is not his equal, right? Remember that one? On earth.
Mighty fortress is our God.
Mighty fortress is our God, yeah.
Would the snake in the garden be considered a serpent, but not a dragon?
Yeah, well, same mythology, not always the same words. So even the word serpent can be like Tanin or Nahash. We have different words for them, but they are slithery water chaos creatures. They're always the bad guys in the story. So yeah, a dragon or a serpent are the same thing, basically, in the way that works. All right, and he takes a third of the stars with him. And here's where our myth comes in. We're not going to deal a lot with this, but here's where our myth of Satan is in heaven, and he has pride, ego, because this is part of there's some kind of Jewish myth that deals with this. He's got so much ego that he, tries to confront God, and God kicks him out of heaven. Right? I saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven, which isn't talking about the past, it's talking about the present, but whatever, right? He gets kicked out, and he brings all of the demons with him, or a third of the demons with him, of the stars. Okay, but in this particular story, none of that stuff is there, right? This isn't him. I mean, do you see him being kicked out of heaven? Right? It doesn't say he flung them to the earth. He's got 7 crowns on his head, and the sign appears in heaven. So he's in heaven. So he gets thrown down. Okay, that's for sure going to happen here, thrown down. But is this something that's happening at the beginning of creation? And what are these stars? Like, we've just been told what stars are.
Oh.
So why would we automatically jump? We could, I mean, it's possible that John's using stars in one sense, maybe the 12 tribes here, and over here he's talking about the angelic hordes, perhaps. But it's only been a few verses.
I'm thinking Isaiah 14 and the end of Revelation about the morning star. Two different.
Right, yes, Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel both talk about this possible myth that's there. Although we've done that one here in Tuesday School, so you got to go back and find when we talked about Satan and all of that. So we don't want to do too much with all of that right now.
It specifically says that he and his angels were hurled down in verse 9.
Right, okay, so we're not there.
So it's just farther down.
Yeah, but so this is separated into two sections, right? So we've got verses 1 through 6 and then 7 through to the end. And they're telling the same story. So at this point, I don't want you to read above chapter verse 7. Okay, because it's going to start explaining this. I just want us to read it the way it is right now. All right. So, and you're gonna have to grab hold of verses 7, 8, and 9 and assume it's the same story, which I think is a fair assumption, but we're gonna get there. Okay. So here's the dragon. What's the dragon's plans?
Kill the child.
Kill the child. When did this original plan start off?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. What a great answer. Yep. Right. In Genesis 3:15, we already have Satan, or the snake, the great dragon, has already been given a curse. And Genesis 3:15 says the plan is that while he will bite the heel, right, or he will crush the seed of the woman, that seed of the woman will also crush the head of the serpent. And by the way, it's the same word, but one is crushing the heel and one is crushing the head. Okay, so we've been waiting for this battle. In fact, you might say that this battle is as old as the beginning, right? It's not a new battle so much. It's the culmination of the battle. But this battle has been happening all along. The dragon wants to beat Christ. And so this Old Testament story of Satan attacking Christ right there, like we're already seeing it here in Revelation 12, but if you jump all the way back to you see it in the Adam story, you see it in the Seth story, that we've got the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent at odds with each other. And Seth's seed continues into Noah, and you've got the story of Noah all the way to Jacob. There are promises given to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, etc. But then it looks like Satan is triumphing when Isaac is almost killed, right? But no, God says, no, don't do that. Don't kill Isaac. We've got plans. Rebecca is barren, but God somehow opens the womb. All these attacks, it seems like, these darkness moments throughout history. Jacob in the desert, the Israelites in Egypt, then freed, then the golden calf, everything looks bad again. God's like, I'm going to kill them all, but Moses jumps in between. So we've got that going on. Saul tries to kill David when we get there. Constantly, the plan that God is moving, this order, this historical redemptive movement, he's constantly jumping in and trying to stop it. From King David to Queen Athaliah, you've got Ahaz and Jezebel deciding to destroy the line of David, Jehoshaphat taking Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and trying to kill him, but the nurse hiding the child, keeping him alive. Syria and Israel against Judah, right? And the coalition, the Ephraimite coalition, they're against Judah, but Isaiah comes and says, ask for a sign, and he won't ask for a sign. So I'm going to give you a sign anyway. That's Isaiah 7:14. The virgin shall conceive and bear a child. There's a constant, God keeps coming in all the way through this to Esther, right? Esther saves them from Haman and that destructive. And then all the way to Herod. Herod is going to destroy the children, all the children under 2. This is Satan. This is the dragon trying to destroy the line of Christ. But here's this story told again, but it's a story of millennia. It's already happened. It's been happening.
So you said earlier that the throwing down of Satan was current, not past.
I said that passage about where it says, I saw Satan falling from lightning was something that happens in the book as Jesus is standing there. Jesus actually says, I see Satan falling like lightning. It's a present tense verb. I see him falling. We're going to get to that. Wait till the throwing down ones. They're coming verse 7, where Travis already tried to take us.
Okay.
I know. I'm excited about it too. All right. So here we are. This is all that's happening. We haven't even met Christ. Okay, look, go back to the seed of the woman, right? So not a sign. I said that. Woman and dragon are symbols, but not the child. And he rules. What does it say he rules with?
Iron rod.
An iron rod. Yes. Okay, a rod of iron. Where's that from?
Oh.
Come on, you guys got your little study Bibles. It's the most quoted chapter of the Old Testament. I think. Pretty sure it is.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Ah, that's a proverb. Nope. Good prize. Your study Bible's not
As
giving
iron sharpens iron. As
Uh-uh.
iron sharpens iron.
Oh,
Doesn't say anything about Old Testament.
wow. Let's see if mine does. I mean, I know where it is, but I'm seeing if mine.
Isaiah, it's in Isaiah, right?
No, it's Psalm.
Psalms.
Yeah. What verse is it? It's verse.
Okay, so I have Psalms 2:9. You shall break them with
Yes.
a rod of iron and dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel.
Yeah, that's the one. Psalm 2:9. Yeah, good job. All right. This has been since that story in Psalm 2, since that chapter has come out, people have seen that to be a messianic symbol. So we've been waiting for the Messiah. By the way, all the Psalms are messianic, but there are some that are super clearly messianic that everybody said is referring to the Messiah himself. In which case we know Jesus looking back. That's what it's all looking for. So whoever this child is, that the woman clothed with the sun and sitting down on the moon with the stars, whoever this child is the same, is connected with that psalm. And so everybody in that world would have known this is the Messiah.
Mhm.
Whoever this is, the Messiah that's coming. Okay, so remember the story that John sees, that he's seeing all of the stuff happening. The story has already taken place. So when it says that John sees something as if there's progress, what we're seeing is John saw this, and then he saw this, and then he saw this. These are in order of his seeing, but not in order of its happening necessarily. These are things that have taken place before. They're already done. They're not future things. Okay, so I've told you already, I think this is a Christmas text. In some strange way, it's a Christmas text. So here's Eugene Peterson. You heard it from Eugene Boring. Now you get another Eugene. It's Eugene Peterson. It is John's spirit-appointed task to supplement the work of St. Matthew and St. Luke so that the nativity cannot be sentimentalized into coziness, not domesticated into worldliness. This is not the nativity story we grew up with, but it is the nativity story all the same. Jesus' birth excites more than wonder. It excites evil. I love that line. It excites evil. Why? Because evil knows what's happening when this birth takes place. And so now we're going to see in specifics in this next section. Well, we got to do verse 5 too. But this next section is going to show you how Satan is so enraged over not getting his way. Perfect. We're almost halfway through, so that's perfect. 30 minutes. So verse 5 says that her child was caught up to God and was thrown down. Any thoughts as to why, like, or just tell me what that means? What does that mean? My voice hurts, so I know I'm talking too much and not letting you talk. Sorry.
I think of his death and resurrection.
Okay, his death and his resurrection is caught up to God in his throne. Yep. What else? That's pretty significant there. What does it mean for him to be caught up to his throne?
That he's
To rule.
To rule. Okay, in the Gospels, what is that story called?
Ascension.
The Ascension. All right, so what we have here is that the child is born and the child ascends to the throne. And we get none of the life in between. Right? It's a poem, not a poem, of course, it's a narrative. It's an artistic, beautiful way of explaining like this whole thing in between. So the moment is Jesus. So when I said in the beginning, there's a moment, like it's not the moment of the cross, it's not the moment of walking on water, it's not the moment of the incarnation, it's the moment of Jesus. Right? It's this whole story. It's the main reason. Isn't that true? I'll just go ahead and say it for now. It's a main reason why Jesus came, right? To rule. I think main reason is probably good. Right? He's the king. That's what he's here to do.
And you said that this chapter is the theological center, so maybe that verse is the center.
Yeah. That he was caught. Yeah, this is the story. He was born and he ascended to the throne. Like, here's what's happening, right? Jesus is born into the world. Satan's like, right? I will destroy him. And that's what the Gospels tell that story of Satan constantly jumping in and trying to destroy him. It's not just the temptation narratives. The temptation narratives are not a 40-day period. They're meant to be a wilderness experience that symbolizes his life. It may have been 40 days, but the way the story is told, you're supposed to see this temptation is constant for Jesus, right? Anytime that they say, Jesus, let us make you king, and the crowds come around him and he walks through the crowds, like that's a temptation for him to say, I'm going to be the king this way. That's what he's constantly, and Jesus says, I'm going to crush, I'm going to destroy the serpent, but I'm not going to do it through a sword, right? Or at least not this kind of sword. My sword coming out of my mouth. Remember, this is what Revelation is trying to get across. I'm not out to kill everything. I'm not out to be that kind of a king. That's the only kind of king they know. He's going to completely flip the switch here. The script is backwards. He's going to say, the only way this can happen is through my death. And that's how I'm going to take the throne. Through this life sacrificing story. All right, so even though they skipped it, they're getting to the main point that John 18:37 says, for this reason, I was brought into the world, right? To be the king. This is when he's talking with Pilate. Pilate says, are you the king? And he says, it's as you say. And it's for this reason I was born. Okay, he was born to be the king. Revelation is telling you that story. Again, it's telling you the gospel story. So it's just a poetic way of doing it. It's beautiful. All right, so now we're going to jump into this again. Okay, so a war arose in heaven. So all the stuff from before, now we're taking that and we're putting it on here. Okay, this war is Satan trying to attack Jesus and not succeeding, so going after the rest of the group, which we're going to see. So a war arose in heaven. Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. Who's Michael?
The archangel.
Right. The archangel who is known as the guardian of Israel. Okay, he's like, we can't go into Deuteronomy, but a long time ago, the angels or the gods were apportioned at different places. That would have been the way that they would have thought about things like that. Okay, so Michael is the guardian of Israel, and he's standing against the kingdom of the enemy. And the dragon represents these other foreign nations, or Satan embodying those foreign nations. Satan is the one empowering these foreign nations to destroy them, like Pharaoh, or in this case, Rome. Okay, these bad cities, these bad countries. Michael is the angel that argued with Satan before, remember, over the body of Moses. In the book of Jude talks about that. I think that's Jude. And he's the only one I think that usually gets the title of archangel. Some people give that to Gabriel too, but he's pretty significant. Remember, Jewish thought, They're thinking about Jesus, Satan as someone who's been cast out of heaven in some way. And there's proof texts all over. We're not going to do that, but most of the time, I need you to think of that whole story as more like Paradise Lost than Bible. Right? A lot of Milton's theology in medieval times has given us our picture of what heaven and hell and Satan and all that stuff looks like. It's not that way. All right, so they're defeated. There's no longer any place for them in heaven. We're going to get back to all this. So the dragon and his angels fight, and the great dragon is thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Okay, now now we've been told who the dragon is. We didn't know before, right? We knew before, but we're told that that's what we're talking about here. The great dragon, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan. Okay, it's all the same thing. Devil, Satan, wherever you see this thing, it's all going to be the same thing. It's also called the deceiver of the world. Is thrown down from the to the earth. What does Satan mean, by the way?
Accuser.
What?
Accuser.
Accuser. Good. Accuser, slanderer, somebody who brings something up against you, someone who stands against you. And when is he thrown down? When is this war taking place? That's what I wanted to get to.
In verse 5, real quick, it says, she brought forth a male child, one who is, it's a present tense verb, to rule all the nations with a rod, with my rod and my staff comfort. So it seems like the rod would be a form of wrath or punishment or judgment. It says, but
authority. I would just say authority.
Authority. It says, but the but makes me think that, but her child was caught up. But that's not. But so that's not gonna. It negates the prior term usually. But so is that negating the fact that we're not going to rule with authority? Well, not authority, with judgment or wrath. We're going to be caught up and rule. I mean, I'm struggling with that part of the verse. I don't know what your translation. Sorry to take it back to verse 5.
I did not bring my Greek, but I don't think it's but. What do you guys have there?
Which verse are we talking about?
And I have an and.
Yeah.
And her child.
Halfway through verse 5, the second sentence in verse 5, and her child or but her child?
That called a conjunctive.
Yes.
Isn't in Greek, those conjunctives, you can kind of mess with them, could be by, through, for, to.
Those are prepositions, but yes, the and but are conjunctions, yes. And you
Mine says but.
If it's an and, then it's totally different story.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an interpretive move.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're not going
Mine
to
says and in my English, but it says but in my Spanish.
Your Spanish one's tore up, dude.
That's a good question.
But her child was snatched away, and the woman fled.
Well,
So
maybe
same translation, different language, they have both.
Yep. But
Well,
just keep in mind the storyline, right? Right? The Satan's trying to get him, but he rises to the throne. He
yeah,
escapes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Think about
Yeah.
the stone table, Aslan, right? And the white witch is jumping around. We got him, and all of a sudden, right? The table breaks, right? And the story is rewritten. Now he is in charge. He's the throne. He's resurrected. He's on the throne and he's going to do
Okay,
something.
so a couple things here. Okay, I'm a fan of dualism to the extent where it's not a Manichaeanism, where they're equally fighting cosmic fight for eternity. But there's this dualism where one the good overcomes or conquers the forces of evil. My question is this: what happens with these people who are just deconstructing the Bible and erasing hell and having the devil's this made up thing? And I'm wondering one thing: are they reading the Bible? And we're also looking into the addition to this question is, so what the question is, what are we doing with people who are erasing hell or taking the devil and saying there's no such thing? But you have this sense of mystical oneness with God, and that if God is love, then he wouldn't have no wrath. He wouldn't have created a Satan. And these types of questions come up with this chapter.
Yeah.
And also, if you're reading the New Testament, I mean, the devil and the hell or the Satan is coming up quite often. I don't know. What do these people do with this text? Do you talk to Josh or anybody like that that's maybe doing that right now?
Oh, yeah, no, we could definitely talk about hell, but let's hold off talking about hell and Satan's eventual demise so I can stay with the Christmas story.
Okay.
Because we're going to get to that, right? Because Satan is going to be thrown into the lake of fire, right? So and also into the abyss. So we'll talk about these images and bring that question up again. Obviously it fits here, so you're not off course, but I just want to save it for when it's really, really obvious and stick with this just because I only got like 15 minutes left. And I want to at least get the big picture here. All right. So the question that I was asking is, when is Satan thrown down? Is this a story about Satan's original fall from heaven onto earth? When is this war that I've talked about? You remember? Braveheart, Troy, World War II, cosmic battle, nativity.
The blood of the Lamb.
Yeah.
By the blood of the Lamb.
This war that's taking place, just like Fran is saying here, is taking these three things and combining them together. The war that is battling out is the one that we've already seen take place 2,000 years ago, and that he had seen or heard about. I mean, if this is John the Apostle, he saw it. He lived it. He lived every second of that war, right? He was seeing it happen. He might have been standing there when Jesus said, I see Satan falling like lightning.
So Satan and his demons, his fallen angels, were not on the earth prior to when Jesus saw them?
No, I'm just saying this story is not about that. I have no idea about that story. That doesn't take place in the Bible.
Really?
Yeah, it happens in our mythology. We've grabbed hold of verses like this one, Isaiah chapter 14, like Josh said, Ezekiel 13? I don't remember. 20, I can't remember. And the Job passage, and put these ideas together and gave us a picture of Satan that just isn't there.
But he must have been active, or is it just the fall and we were on our own screwing up?
I mean, we see him in Genesis chapter 2 and 3, right? So
Right.
he's right there. But there's never an origin story for evil. Evil's just there. Yes.
We see a fictional character in the form of a snake talking to humans, and humans are the ones that actually do all the bad people in the Bible are us. So
I have an argument.
we're
I have
also
a theory that
we're also the good people though.
Still.
I have a theory that the evil is a reptilian brain. What is the question again?
When was this battle taking place? When was he thrown down? This thrown down happens like 6 different times. The words thrown down or cast down or he went down.
Jesus died and was resurrected.
That's what I'm trying to get across here. This isn't an origin story of Satan. This is a story of Satan's demise.
When was he? So he was permanently cast down when the cross at the cross, like he's permanently out of heaven.
Cast down, yeah, crushed. That's all we need to think of here, right? He's the one who is being defeated. This is where the war. This is the battle that's taking place between Michael and Satan.
Some would say that he was able to go back and forth until this time.
Yeah, all of that. I'm just saying that whole storyline here is all something that we've created that's not in the Bible. Okay,
so we can't go back and forth.
So we're not going to talk about Satan like the theology of Satan. We've done that. Go back, and Sarah has wonderfully put all of these things on my YouTube channel. You can go listen to all that, or we can do it again later in the future. I don't want to do a theology of Satan. Josh, the other Josh Patterson, who's usually on here, he also has a podcast where I talk about this in great detail. So you can go look at all that stuff and find out what you think about Satan. That's not the story. This story is about a war that takes place while Jesus is on earth. It's a war that takes place in heaven and on earth. It's won in heaven by the works that are being done on earth. That is Jesus, right? So Jesus is doing this stuff and Michael and Satan are fighting. That's the picture you're supposed to see. Okay, but we haven't even gotten to the whole text. So now we can clearly see this text, right? And I heard, this is verse 10. There's no way I'm going to be able to finish this. Man, so excited. All right. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. For the accuser, right? We use that word. The accuser of our brethren has been thrown down. So again, who accuses them day and night before our God. And they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. For they loved not their lives even unto death. How have they conquered? They've died.
Lamb.
They died, right? This is so great. He accused them day and night for it, and they conquered him by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of the testimony, for they love not their lives even unto death. Rejoice then, O heaven, and you that dwell therein. But woe to you, O earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. So now he's like, okay, this is going to be the end. So think about this bursting forth in heaven, this praise, this 3 stanza song, but the praise is all about the casting down of Satan right now. Like when Jesus is on earth, he says, the time is fulfilled, the kingdom of God has come near. That's like his first major quote. When he goes into Nazareth, remember what he says? The scripture is fulfilled today in your hearing. In the fullness of time, God sent forth his son, born of a woman. At the acceptable time, I listened to you, and on the day of salvation, I helped you. Behold, now is the day of your salvation. All of these are in reference to the Jesus event. He's been thrown down 6 times in 9 through 13. Not he, Jesus, he, Satan. So he can no longer make accusations against the brother. Remember, that's what Satan's job is. To tell you that you're not worthy. He's a lawyer, but a lawyer on the bad side. Okay, he's trying to get you to say, no, you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy. And Jesus' blood comes to deal with all of this. And because of his blood, Satan is conquered because the saints agree to be martyrs. Remember the big picture of Revelation, right? They're being martyred. They're being hurt. We've even heard one of the churches has lost someone, like literally to death. But maybe this was happening all over the place. If not, it was going to start to happen. This is what's happening. And so they're willing to say, we're willing to give up our life. That's the battle that's taking place on earth. Okay, it's still, while Satan and Michael are having this thing up here. So John wants us to realize that Satan has already lost the battle, even though they're suffering right now, right? So he's like, I know you're suffering, but it's okay. Like, and they're like, it's not okay. No, it's okay. Satan has already been defeated on Calvary. Remember, the disciples are sent out 2 by 2 with Jesus. Jesus sends them out, and they go, and what do they come back with? They come back and they say, Jesus, even the demons are like submitting to your name, right? This is the conquering. Jesus says, I see Satan falling like lightning from heaven. All right, so verse 13, I'm gonna try. I got 10 minutes.
Where is that scripture, falling like lightning?
It's Luke. I don't remember. It's
Okay.
Luke.
I can look it up. That's okay.
Yeah, Luke and lightning in a Google search, and you'll find it probably pretty quick. And Satan. Okay. Verse 13. The dragon saw that he'd been thrown down to the earth. Like, whoa, hey, I'm down here. All right. He pursued the woman who had borne the male child. So he's like, I lost this battle. Well, you better believe I'm gonna do something about this now. Good job, Matt. 10:18. Right? Okay, so I'm gonna do something about this. So he's gonna take the new Israel. Because this is what Jesus is, Jesus is born from the old Israel, comes the new Israel. He's going to take out the new Israel. So here we are, we're suffering, and our suffering, what John's trying to say is our suffering is not a sign of the church's defeat, but a sign that evil is being defeated. So that's the whole thing. Remember, what was the quote that I said before? Eugene Peterson, it excites evil, right? This whole storyline is exciting. Like, I didn't get what I wanted, I will destroy you, right? So anytime you're feeling that wrath, that Satan is attacking you, this is him, like, it's a lost cause, but he's just I'll do anything I can.
I
Can
mean,
I add to that? Can I add to that illustration real quick?
Yeah.
Can I add to that? Okay,
Yeah.
so the accuser of the brethren. Okay, so when you're feeling this attack on Satan, it says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, and it says in Romans 10, it says if you believe in your heart that Jesus was risen from the dead, and you confess with your mouth that He is Lord, you will be saved. Those are the two witnesses.
Uh-huh.
So that's the defeating aspect or element to the attack. So if you are feeling attacked by Satan on a daily basis or during the day, you just say Jesus is Lord, or you just say a little prayer. You believe in your heart. So the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, the accuser is cast away or cast down or defeated.
Nice. All right, so it excites evil, right? So this attack is happening. He can't kill the child. He's going to take out what comes from the child. So I think one of the plans is even for us in this world is to keep the child in the manger, to forget that he's moved and conquers. I think the Christmas Carol, Graham Kendrick has this line in there: if we keep him in the manger, there is now no danger, right? Just keep the child there, calm and cuddly and cozy, and all is well. But that's not, he's ascended to the throne. He's in power. But the woman, verse 14, was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly from the serpent into the wilderness, to the place where she's being nourished for a time and times and half a time. So Satan's trying to get revenge on the one who's birthed the son, so Israel. But she gets eagle wings and is protected for 42 months, 3.5 years, 1,260 days, time, and half a time. All these are the same kinds of language. And all of this comes from the Old Testament understanding. So it's basically a, what do you call it? A stock phrase, right? It's everyone knew when you talk about 40 or 42 months or years, right? Or any of those numbers, right? That it has to do with
A long time.
Yeah, it has to do with a long time, but a particular amount of time, right? The time where from Egypt to the promised land. Okay, depending on what text you're reading and how you're organizing it, it's either 40 years or it's 42. If you read through like the book of, I think it's Numbers. Is it Numbers? No, it's Deuteronomy. Where is it? I thought I wrote it down. Anyway, there's 40 different spots, but the 40 different spots are in between this one and this one. So it's like here, and then there's 40 in between. So it's that concept, right? It's this long period of time that is both comfort and temptation and struggle and suffering, like the wilderness, right? If you read through the book of Numbers, you're going to see all these wilderness wanderings, all these struggles, but yet all of this, here's some food, here's water from a rock, right? Here's manna or quail. He's going to keep taking care of them. It's a place of comfort and a place of trial at the same time. So here they are. They've escaped into the desert. By the way, remember Egypt. Egypt is called Rahab. Remember this dragon motif that's going on here. All this is from Exodus chapter 19. And it says, you yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. All right, so this is just picture, she's running away from the dragon because the dragon didn't get his way, and she sprouts eagle wings and now she's flying, right? All of this is just grabbing hold of this Old Testament imagery of trial and protection at the same time. So it's the wilderness wanderings for us, or for the people of that time, between the ascension and the return. How long is that? 1,260 days, 42 months, time, and half and times, 3.5 years. Okay, it's half of the complete amount of 7. Okay, no one knows exactly what it is, but it's a stock phrase. It just means this period of time of suffering and good. So the serpent, verse 15, the serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman to sweep her away with the flood, not a fire-breathing dragon. He's giving water in there. But the earth came to the help of the woman, which is interesting. The earth is often afraid when God comes near. But here he is, the earth is helping out. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed the river, which the dragon had poured from his mouth. So just a way of saying Satan is attacking, trying to flood, trying to destroy this overwhelming evil. It's the counter image of the river of life that comes out of Eden, right? And then later on will come out of Revelation. Okay, it's the counter image. This is not a river of life. It's a river of death. Remember the water and Lido and all that stuff as well. And remember that the earth is destroying, this evil is coming in there, just like in Moses' song in Exodus chapter 15. The earth eats up the Egyptians. It's just a beautiful story of how all that happens. God's protecting his own. Last verse. The dragon was angry. Then the dragon was angry with the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on those who keep the commandments of God and bear testimony to Jesus. And he stood on the sand of the sea. So now he's about to call in his other helpers. But he goes off to make war with the rest of her offspring. So he was trying to chase down Israel, Mary, that which birthed Jesus. Now he's going out to make war with the rest of the offspring. Who's that?
That's us.
That's us. And this is what he's been doing. And this is the story of Revelation for the people who are suffering at this time. The dragon can't beat Israel, so he goes after the church. Satan hates the church because his hatred of Christ, and Christ loves the church. And this is our battle. Every day we're having this battle with Satan, but we've already overcome. Right? So there's a sense in which we've already overcome, but we have to overcome. That's what the chapter 2 and 3 were about, right? As Travis and Josh and I walked through that chapter together, right? You have to overcome. And if you overcome, you're going to get the manna, the white stone, the tree of life, all these different things if you overcome. But Jesus has already overcome. How do we overcome? We lay down our lives. We're martyrs. So this whole kingdom is upside down. That's the Christmas story. That's why the Magnificat, right? Mary sings out that throne, they come down from their thrones. The oppressed are built up. Because that's the story of Jesus. It's not about that kind of a king. That's why he's born in a manger. That's why there's no room for him in the inn. And how does the dragon make war? 3 ways, according to this, are he accuses day and night, slanders them, tells them they're not worthy of their love. Probably a hit you guys have taken before, right? I'm not worthy of this. You've sinned a lot, right? You've sinned a lot. He deceives us, verse 9, like this, and that's who he is. He's the deceiver. Satan is the great deceiver. And he himself is deceived about his place in the world, like who he is in his power structure. And it says he seeks to kill, right? So this is the threat of death is one of the things that keeps all of us from being who we're supposed to be in Christ, isn't it? We're worried. We have this fear that we're either going to be shamed or actually killed. But how do we overcome? We overcome by the blood of the Lamb. No accusation can hold us. If he tells us that we're sinners and we're not worthy, we just admit it, don't we? That's the beautiful thing. We're like, yep, you got it. Sinner, not worthy. But the blood of the Lamb, right? That's the cool thing about this. We already know our sin is dealt with. We overcome by seeking with our whole being to know the truth. So he's the great deceiver. Our job is to know the truth. Think about the Sermon on the Mount, right? Your yes be yes, your no be no. We don't mess around with things that are somewhat truthful. Right? We're supposed to be people of truth. So don't play games with truth. And the other one is that he threatens us by our death, and we're supposed to be saying, hey, death doesn't mean we lose. We're good. Right? Like that's a win. And that's the whole job of the Christian.
Yeah.
That's the Christmas story. that we're supposed to lay down our life in death. That's why he came to earth. Yeah, sorry, someone say
If
something.
you read Ephesians 6 after we just went through all that, it really stands out this what we're at war with.
Yes, principalities and powers.
Right. And you know, stand firm, you know, the evil day of having done all. Stand firm, therefore, having girded your loins with truth. You just said it, right?
Overcome. Yeah. stand
Yeah.
firm. Yeah.
Having, yeah, the breastplate of righteousness, shod your feet with the gospel of peace, taking the shield of faith, quenching the flaming darts of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation, the sword of the spirit, which is the word of God.
Yeah.
And
We got it.
It's 9:17. I'm going to leave you with this piece of the song for your Christmas song. Are you ready? It's not Silent Night, Violent Night, or anything like that. Okay, that's not what's going on here. It's this. And though this world with devils filled should threaten to undo us. Do you guys know the song? We will not fear, for God hath willed his truth to triumph through
us.
Mighty
all of
force.
this. The Prince of the Prince of Darkness, grim, we tremble not for him. You guys know all this? All right, good. Rage we can endure, for lo, his doom is sure. One little word will fell him. It's Martin Luther's song that we started off with. Okay, that's, I think, the second verse. So this world with devils filled should threaten to undo us. We won't keep going.
brilliant inclusio for your brilliant class.
Thanks,
Yeah.
John, for noticing Ecclusio and using that big word.
It was. Thank you very much.
That's the
Mhm.
Christmas
Very good.
story. I'm going to preach that story someday for my whole Advent series. I can't wait to preach it.
I'll be there.
All right, 9:18. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You all have